This same Mr. President, in 2010, came to campaign in the Southwest and said that this country was too important to be given to rascals. This same president, who didn't say that, you know, oh, he shouldn't have said that. We simply replied in a more civil manner. Now, Chief B.C. Akande is not just anybody. He is the chairman of the biggest opposition party in Nigeria. Therefore, if Mr. President has, like he said, he has no obligation to reply all letters, he definitely does have an obligation to reply to a letter written by the chairman of the opposition political party, because that is the view of the party. And he requested for this.
And you think your party is not going overboard in this
Not in the least. You see,
we've seen a lot of reactions coming from your party
that
afterwards, even after Chief B.C. Akande, on comments on the president.
Look, the only official spokesperson for my party incidentally happens to me, and I know what reply we gave. In fact, the reply we gave was that Mr. President and the presidency refused to face the issue, and they just went on what I call political tantrum. Now, the issue at stake is very simple. In a democracy, the president must be responsive to people's feelings and aspirations. If a matter as important as the removal of fuel subsidy is tabled before all political parties, Mr. President invited political party leaders to this meeting, and we said that we are going to put our own down in writing. And we did not get any response. The next thing we saw was the increase in in the fuel price. Now, what impression does that give you of a president? And frankly speaking, I don't think we should waste our time on this issue. In a democracy, if you want to be president and you cannot take the heat, you leave the kitchen. You won't be criticized because you are Mr. President. This is not personal.
No, but we're talking about the office of the president, which of course, 1,000 people can occupy that place. That's in 1,000 years. So that means that seat represents the interest. A lot of people say that if Mr. President is seen as a kindergarten president, that means he's the president of Nigerians. Nigerians are kindergarten students.
No. It simply means that administration is kindergarten. How it means?
In that sense, break it down. If your party stands by what Chief Akande says, isn't
absolutely.
It? So you're saying that the cabinet formed by president is a kindergarten cabinet?
Absolutely.
In what sense, Alhaji Mohammed?
Because they failed to deliver to Nigerians their aspirations.
Even the performance that the president has put forward in 2 years, you think that is a failure?
You must be joking. Is it in the area of electricity? Is it the area of security? Is it employment generation? Have you read the recent African Development Bank report that says that poverty has gone from 56 to 69% under this watch, that 40% of our youth are unemployed? Tell me in which area. Is it education? Is it the healthcare system? Listen, if you are a democracy and you cannot have robust criticism of that democracy, then not a democracy. But believe me, there's nothing we've said which we have not backed up with facts and figures.
But don't you think you may be too harsh on President Jonathan? For 2 years, the man who is just making a foundation to what he wants to do. 2 years, do you think that is enough?
2 years out of 4 years.
To actualize all his structure.
President Jonathan has been in power for more than 2 years.
As a president?
As a president.
Under his own...
in 2010, May 5th, 2010, he took over. For crying out loud, it's more than 3 years now.
Alhaji Mohammed, you still don't agree that the president has done nothing?
It's not done enough. And you see, this is why when the president...
He's not done enough, or he's failed?
He's failed, of course.
In what sense, Alhaji?
I've just told you this. Look, what was the power generation when Mr. President came in? What is the power generation today? What's the level of security in Nigeria before he came in? What's the level of security today? What's the level of unemployment when he came in?
You've not mentioned some of his performances in the area of the growth in the economy.
Which economy?
For 2 years going
Which economic growth does not translate into production, into employment of youth? What economic growth does not translate into food on the table for Nigerians? What economic growth is it that does not translate into expansion of industries? We are being fed with figures. They does not translate into real figures. If you want to tell me the economy is growing, then employment must go on.
All right, Alhaji, just a moment. Let's go back to our Abuja studio. And I would like you, Dr. Onanuju, to comment, if you will, on this particular matter that Alhaji Mohammed just mentioned on. When the opposition party is making comments or is criticizing the president on his performances, do you think that he should be angry or listen and take out from probably what they are trying to say? Maybe there are a lot of sense in what the opposition party is talking about.
First, I would like to say we as Nigerians, when we watch the United States, we know those who are very rude, who insult President Obama. We know they speak out of hate. And we know the kind of people that those people are. They will never see anything good in a man who is performing. Coming home, I will take what he was speaking about regarding the economy. The PDP has been responsible for Nigeria's longest period of economic expansion. I agree with him that the economic expansion has also not been able to get down to the poor. Now, what causes it? The federal government has done its own bit in trying to move the economy forward, but like the APC governors, the governors that Mr. Mohammed represents they say that they will not allow autonomy for the local government areas. The poor people live mostly in the 700 plus local governments that we have in this country. And the thing that goes down to them is that statutorily mandated money that should go to the local government people for them to be autonomous. If the governor saves the money in the state, the money does not go down to the local governments. If the local governments don't spend, there are no trickle-down effect for the poor people all over the country to gain. And this is, well, you have to ask yourself, who is the person that is actually against the poor? It is the APC governors with their stated words that they do not want local government autonomy. That local government autonomy that they don't want is the reason why there is an expansion in the gap between the rich and the poor, despite the economic growth that we have noticed. The PDP is the most successful party in Nigeria's history. It has led us through our longest period of political stability, 14 years unbroken. When the British left, we only had 6 years before we had trouble. When Shagari came into power, he was there for about 7-8 years before the APC big man, Buhari, staged a coup to actually kill our democracy. If Buhari has not done the coup to remove Shagari's government, our democracy today would be close to 37 years old. And you know, the older a man grows, the more mature he becomes. The PDP has been responsible for making all the very tough choices, like the issue regarding removal of fuel subsidy. The argument about fuel subsidy is profound economics. We produce, our biggest raw material in this country is petroleum products. And the opposition knew very well, for us to be able to provide a lot of jobs for the poor people and the younger ones, we will need to do some quality of refining of petroleum products in our country. And by those ancillary industries being opened up with the raw materials that come from the refining of crude, where we create a lot of ancillary industries, that we create jobs, that we create economic expansion, that we bring capacity in our country for us to have over 107 different byproducts that come from petroleum crude refining. The opposition are simple acting out of hate. They are driven by anger and not by real reason. As you can see, the outburst from Chief Akonde, what we are asking for is honestly constructive engagement in national discourse that will actually bring benefits to our young people. We have too many young people living in schools. We must continue now, start now, to use the raw material which we have, and the biggest we have is crude oil. When you start refining crude in Nigeria, poor people will be able to get jobs.
Thank you.
Will become Dr. that efficient in doing what we have.
Let me quickly point out, a lot of comments are coming on the social media as to the conversation that we are having here. Just before we go on the break, let me ask Alhaji Mohammed here in the studio. Your party came forward to say in Nasarawa. That was the